Hi all, welcome back to the blog view from the fourth floor. It's been a whirlwind of a couple of days after the last general election. I think we're still not clear on what will be the makeup of the government, especially with a lot of negotiations and horse trade, not really horse trading, but negotiations and um, party alignments happening between the three main coalition. It start of the morning on the Monday. I think it started off with news that the overall kind of the coalition with the most seats um, announcing that they are having the prerequisite or the right numbers to form the government, and they were in talks with the traditional rival Barisan Nasional BN, and the maths indicated that if Pakatan Harapan combined with Barisan Nasional, they would have 100 and no, they would have more than 112, which is the minimum number that's required for them to form the government. But of course, the other coalition that's also vying for power is Perikatan Nasional, and they also stated that they have the numbers. So that kind of put everyone a bit confused on the onto who actually has the numbers. But of course, I think what's happening in BN itself, because there are instances where announcements were made saying that they are not in agreement with the party leadership in terms of the intent to combine or to support PH, and there were a few press conferences confirming that, and there's also circulating that PN already has the statutory declarations coming up from the member of parliaments from BN. So now we're left with the palace announcing an extension to the deadline. So we have until 2 p.m. to the Tuesday, which is the 22nd of November, for the PM candidate with the most number of support to present their evidences for the Yang di-Pertuan Agong to make his decision. So it's gonna be another round of intense negotiations, intense. Basically, it's gonna be intense. And on top of that, hey, we now have the World Cup starting. I think the first game was yesterday. It was a defeat to the host, Qatar, where Ecuador I think won 2-0. I'm waiting for the next game. I think around 9 o'clock our time there will be England game on the TV. So yeah, that'll be interesting. Something to take our minds off the never-ending uh, uh, issues or concerns about the Malaysian election. But yeah, that will be a nice change. That's the only football that we're going to have until Christmas, right? Because with the World Cup, I think there's a break in the Premier League, and Arsenal, of course, still on top. But let's see if they can sustain the momentum once the World Cup is over. Hopefully, there's no major injuries to Arsenal's players, and maybe we can even invest further when the January window comes in to further sustain our challenge to finally, win the Premier League. So yeah, I mean, this is just an update. I think politics or the election has clearly become something that's preoccupying everyone's mind in Malaysia. We just want to know what would be the makeup of the government that will carry us through the next 5 years. I, I'm for me personally, I think we had the last 2 years, no, the last 30 months of uncertainty over the government that was, came into power by dubious means, and there was a lot of issues on the validity of the government. And now, even after the election, when the the coalition with the most seats, which is Pakatan Harapan, with 82, still isn't able to form the government because of that prerequisite, minimum number of seats of support that they need to garner, which is 112 out of 222. And I don't know, because it was looking likely that we would get the same PN government that took over the first time, from Pakatan Harapan, with Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin becoming the PM, and we've seen how it was when he was in power. I don't have the same. No, I don't have confidence in him and his team actually doing a good job, because I don't know, maybe because back then they were too focused on trying to cement the grip on power, that he was willing to offer ministerial positions, GSC position to a lot of supporters, and we end up with that bloated cabinet that we have now. And although, I mean, the situation is different now, because he actually, post the general election, he actually has a significant number, especially with Perikatan Nationals um, move to align themselves with PAS. And I guess PAS was the main beneficiary of this alliance, with clearly up to almost 40, 49, or 40 plus seats, which is the highest of a number of seats for a single party in the parliament. And of course, by having that coalition there with 73 seats, I think they managed to convince parties from Sabah and Sarawak, and with that they will be able to combine. And of course, I think they still need some support from BN, um, for them to actually get the numbers, because with just BN, the Borneo block, I think they still fall short from actual meeting the 112 number. So we have a situation where we have both Pakatan Harapan and Perikatan Nasional actually vying for the support from Barisan Nasional. And now, when the news came out in the morning where PH is officially negotiating with BN, the PN supporters were like, "Oh, hey, come on, are you like menjilat ludah? That means that, like, going back on what you say because of all the allegations or all the corruptions." Messaging that we were saying, BN is corrupt and whatnot. And now you're like coming back to get them to form government. But the same can be said with BN, because they are also courting BN to form a government. So we have a situation where one of the biggest losers of the general election, which is Barisan Nasional, finding themselves in a position where they may be able to influence the actual form or the makeup of the government of the day. Now, the only permutation where you would have no BN in the government, I mean, if they still insist on becoming, no, I think they need to be opposition, is when you have Pakatan Harapan, the Borneo Bloc, and all the other uh, parties, the independents and whatnot, join together and form the government. Okay, they will have the numbers. So you have PN and BN becoming the opposition, but that is a scenario that is highly unlikely to happen because of the history that PH, especially DAP, as part of the members of PH, has historically with the parties in Sabah and Sarawak. That, I don't know how it can be overcome. Maybe I think if a gesture is being made by PH to offer, the Borneo bloc, position a higher position or more influence over how they can implement the Malaysian Agreement 1963, which is something that is being offered by most of the parties anyway. So I don't know what it takes for PH to fully convince our Borneo brothers. Anyway, so we still have that a long way to go, long night. But if you ask me personally, I think it will boil down to who can offer more to the MPs in BN. And of course, I think I tweeted it earlier that BN should focus on becoming an opposition. Looking at cleaning up or reforming, their party, especially UMNO. With now there's a strong a call for the leadership to resign. Zahid Hamidi, especially as the president, should take accountability over one of the biggest losses that they've endured as part of a general election. So, with all that movement, with all the uncertainty surrounding key personalities, key leadership in BN, I find it very difficult for an agreement to be achieved with all of those MPs, and making it that BN is negotiating as a bloc, which would give us a straightforward way for PH to become the government. Uh, anyway, I think that's it for now. I know it's a bit heavy on the politics, but it is what it is. It is time during the Malaysian general election, and this is the outcome of it. And you will hear a lot more people talking about it. So hopefully, we will end up with preferable scenario. I personally, I just want the next government or the new government that comes in to actually be much better than the last two interim or kerajaan tempatan or whatever that we had, because we're talking about really taking Malaysia, prepping our country, making sure that we are ready to face the oncoming challenges of the next couple of years, especially with the economy and the increasing cost of living that is faced by Malaysians. So maybe we should implore, or we should ask for these political parties to come on, take a step back, look at what would be the right combination, or what would be the right permutation that would allow for a stable government to just hit the ground running, focus on getting Malaysia right on track, rather than constant politicking and a return to what we have, the instability that we had, that led to changing prime ministers, two prime ministers over the last 3 years. So yeah, let me see what you guys think about that in the comments, and if you have any ideas, or if you have any views you want to add yourself, please feel free to put in the replies, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.